what femicide is and how it is different from homicide, and why we need to look at this as a gender-specific issue.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me in this show. So basically, femicide, by definition, is the intentional killing of women and girls because of their gender. Yeah. This form of gender-based violence manifests the ultimate violation of women's rights, where discriminatory beliefs and practices escalate and result in fatal outcomes. Yeah, unlike general homicide, which involves the killing of individuals, kan, regardless of their gender and might not be motivated by gender bias, femicide is deeply rooted in entrenched gender inequalities and harmful stereotypes that devalues women and girls. So understanding femicide as a gender-specific issue, I think, is crucial because it highlights the severe impact of societal gender norms and the need for targeted interventions. Femicide often follows long-standing abuse, violence, and discrimination towards women, making it not just an act of violence, but I believe a culmination of systemic gender-based discrimination. Yeah. So recognizing it as such is essential to develop informed and effective strategies on how we can prevent these incidents or tragedies lah. Yeah, we need to recognize the patterns and the motivation behind these acts, which are often perpetrated by spouse or intimate partner or other family members in domestic settings. Yeah, so it's, you know, I feel like femicide is a deeply personal and systemic issue lah.
Can you talk more about that, Nazreen? I mean, what do we know about the prevalence of femicide in Malaysia? What do we understand about the types, the perpetrators of this crime? And you talked about the pattern of that precedes the fatal escalation. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, like what I mentioned just now, femicide is basically the tragic endpoint of escalating violence, where the early signs of abuse and control often precede more lethal outcomes lah. Yeah. So I think recognizing these warning signs is very critical to prevent the escalation. So some of the signs can include, like, for example, intense jealousy or possessiveness, which might be seen by some of the survivors or victims as an attempt to isolate the women from her support circle, from her friends, from her family. But sometimes we can also kind of like romanticizing this possessiveness, kan? We're thinking, oh my God, he's jealous because he loves me, because he's so possessive. Because sometimes we see this in media, in movies, kan? About a man possessiveness that equate to a romantic gesture, you know. So that is one thing that I feel we need to be mindful of, and we need to kind of break that type of perspective. Yeah. And then other signs can be like any form of violence, including threats, you know. These are significant red flag that could escalate to like severe violence and femicide as well. Yeah. And then also harassment, stalking, you know, where the perpetrator persistently follow, monitor, harass, you know, in a situation where, for example, the relationship has ended, right? And then the perpetrator keep on following and obsessively harass the survivors or the victim lah. This is also a serious indicator of risk. Yeah. And then also like strict controls over daily life, over aspects of women's life, including like her financial decision, her social interaction, her clothing choice, you know, where she wants to go, who she gonna meet, you know. This can also be a sign, and also situation where the perpetrators gradually are taking away the decision making power in the relationship. Yeah, like forcing dependency on him, and in which that it will erode the victims or the survivor's sense of autonomy and agencies, right? Yeah.
Nazreen, can I just jump in? I mean, all the things that you've described, you talked a little bit about how we seem to have normalized this either through popular culture or our societal attitudes to this. And that, of course, shapes the way we respond to crimes against women and, more specifically to femicide. Can I ask you, I understand that Women's Aid Organization did a survey on the public attitudes of Malaysians towards violence against women. Can I ask you what you learnt about the way we view gender-based violence? What did that survey tell you?
Right. Okay. So we did a survey in 2021 on the perception and attitude towards violence against women, which I will maybe share in a little bit. But this year we also did like a media monitoring on femicide. Yeah, because because in Malaysia it's very difficult for us to get data on femicide, because like what, as far as we know, because we asked this from PDRM as well. PDRM also do not have the data on femicide because they do not have that classification as femicide. It will be classified as homicide. So like the media monitoring that we did this year from January to August 2024, on media monitoring, we had a total of 17 cases that are reported in the media, but these are the ones that reported and classified as femicide, right? I believe that maybe other cases that may not be reported or classified as femicide, kan? So from our media monitoring ni, the significant proportion of the perpetrators, they were like 60% of the perpetrators are committed by the intimate partner lah, a relationship, right? Then coming back to your questions about our survey, so the study was conducted in 2021 during the pandemic. So we did it online. The survey that was shared to about 1,000 samples. So the key findings from this survey is kind of actually, to be honest, kan Melisa, it illustrate lah to us the societal attitudes toward violence against women in Malaysia ni. It's complex and can be contradictory. Why I say that? Because okay, so these are like the key findings. Okay, so out of 46.3% of Malaysian support gender equality, only 46.3%, and 52.7% oppose violence endorsing attitudes. Okay, this indicate a need for stronger advocacy, definitely, kan, and education to shift public perception about more towards an egalitarian viewpoints towards gender equality. Okay, and then we also find from this survey that many Malaysian hold attitudes that excuse, minimize, or justify violence against women or blame survivors, because they are the one that macam blame, or because they dress this way or they go out at certain time at night, And then another thing which is not that we should note also from this survey, a significant portion of our society basically believes that domestic violence is a normal reaction to stress. 53.3% believes that, and also 43% believes that women can provoke men into violence.
That
Yeah,
is very worrying
very
statistic.
disturbing,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yes.
And then
So,
there's oops.
so just had to interrupt you, but in the time that we have left, I do want to ask you. I mean, we have this information that this pervasive societal attitudes. What is it that you think we need to do in terms of structural changes or policy interventions that is most urgently needed to prevent, eliminate, end gender-based violence and violence against women, femicide particularly in Malaysia?
Definitely everything that you mentioned just now, right? We do need like we have, there's a critical need for a comprehensive education program, that challenge and change the harmful myth and stereotypes that we have about gender and violence, because it's important to change attitude, kan Melissa? Definitely it's important to change law. Definitely it's important for us to strengthen our legal framework, to address this situation at the structural level. But it's also very, very important to change the attitudes, because there's no point just changing law if the majority in our society and community still believe that it's okay, that you can treat women like this, or women should do this, then it's very important for us to change, right? So for our society to change. So it's important to engage the communities in this dialogue lah, for us to promote gender equality, to promote respect for women. We need to shift these public attitudes, and we also need to have conversation with men, for them to kind of change their mentality, their attitude. It's very important to have the gender transformative behavior among men, which I hope we will achieve, in our society, so that we can create a safer environment lah for
Yeah.
our women and our girls in Malaysia.
Definitely, Nazreen. Violence against women is also, it's a men's issue as well, considering they are the perpetrators of the violence. But Nazreen, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. That was Nazreen Nizam from Women's Aid Organization, wrapping up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.